I never thought that I would be so homesick until I went to London. I went to London to see one of my friends, and I have been to London before. It was 12 years ago, but it was a really short trip, and I had some other things to do, so my mind wasn't really focusing on visiting London or like sightseeing. It was to do an interview in London, which I failed, unfortunately, and I just want to see London with a fresh set of eyes. And that is the moment that I realized London and Melbourne's very similar. So, Melbourne is much smaller, but it's very similar in terms of the vibe. The autumn is really chilly, rainy, windy, and when you get some sun, you get off the house. It's really like Melbourne. But what I really want to talk about is the small talks. Australians are master of small talks, and I know where they get it from. It's from the UK. When you get a coffee in the UK, they ask, "How are you?" And they do some small talks, just like what they would do in Australia. And I love that. Okay, a lot of people say that it might be fake politeness and we don't need that, we just need directness like the Germans. But I don't know. I would like people to be nice to me when I get a coffee. I don't want people to be like, "Hey," like I don't. That looked a bit weird. It felt more like picking up someone on the street. Hey. Sorry, okay, I should be focused. So when I go to the cafe close to my place, my barista or my hairdresser, they always know what's going on in my life because I see them so often. They know about my friends, my love life, my family, everything. The only thing that they cannot catch up on is my travel plans because I go to too many places. Yes, you might say that that's oversharing, but what I really like is, it's just really nice to have some human connection when I go to the cafe with my barista. We can talk about everything. And I find that this is one of the selling points of the English speaking world as well. Some people might not like it. Some people might just want, okay, I'm going for a coffee. I need the coffee. That's it. I don't need anything else, which is like Germany. When you go to Germany, I think they don't have that culture, first of all. And I think some German cafes in Berlin are trying to do it and it feels really forced. But I appreciate the effort and I still go to these places because I just want to talk to people. Plus, the coffee in London, they are like Melbourne standards. Many of them are Australians, by the way, but I'm just really blown away. The only thing I don't like is the coffee in London costs twice as much as in Melbourne because it's like in pounds, right? Now that I'm living in Berlin, I see a stark contrast between the small talk culture because it's non-existent in Berlin. And I'm not trying to say that it should change because this is, it shapes the culture of a society. So the Germans can do it the German way, but it's just something that I miss. The second thing I want to say is people are nice. People might say that, this is the British politeness. We don't really need that here. And then what do we say about the Thai politeness or the Japanese politeness? I think, why do we criticize on that politeness so much when the Japanese and the Thai people are overly nice as well? And maybe they don't mean it, but I don't mind. I just want people to be nice to me. Maybe I'm a snowflake. I actually prefer it more than having no politeness from the person that I'm hanging out with or like the person that I meet on the street or the assistant in the shop or it's just nicer. It makes my day. Third thing is the diversity between London and Melbourne. You can have different form of diversity, but I think London and Melbourne shares very similar kind of diversity. I think the diaspora is just really similar between London and Melbourne. That means the group of people who migrated to London, it's pretty similar to the group of people who migrated to Melbourne, although in a smaller quantity. Therefore, that means that the food is also really diverse. So when you go to a Korean restaurant in London, you're not judged by the Londoners, you're judged by the Koreans because there's so many Koreans there. And the same with Chinese food, Ethiopian food, Colombian food. So my theory is, because you have enough people from these countries, they themselves have to buy the ingredients to cook at home, right? And when the retailers know that, we have such a big demand, we're gonna import all these ingredients. So the restaurants are more likely to get these ingredients that they can get like back home. And hence the food is more authentic, the flavor is all there, which is the case in Melbourne and in London. I love it. Why don't we have that in Berlin? I mean, yes, you have many places like that in Berlin where they do serve very authentic dishes, but I don't know, it's just slightly, it doesn't get the oomph, And I feel like in Germany, they call it eingedeutscht, where they have to mellow down the flavors so that the bigger population in Germany or in Berlin can take it. And I completely understand that. I went to Young Food the other day in Berlin, and I asked them to do the spiciest version of the normal. This is a Chinese franchise and they do amazing Eintopf soups. And I was saying to her, can I have the normal version? And she's like, we don't have the normal version, but this is the spiciest we can do. I was like, huh? It is a franchise, come on, like you can do better. But the soup came out, she said she made it the way that they would make it in China, but it might be a bit spicy. But I was like, yes, this is what I want, because this is what you get in Melbourne as well. They don't mellow down the flavors, they don't mellow down the spices. If you do the normal level of spices in Yang Guofu, maybe what they're worried about is that they will lose customers. But I don't think so. I think there will be people that are willing to take on these flavors and then, say it's delicious and authentic. Yeah, this is what I feel about London, because I don't think they mellow down any flavors. I went to a Colombian restaurant, it's just as fatty, as sour, as authentic as its taste. I just think that it's amazing that you can get like authentic dishes, traditional dishes from Colombia in the heart of London. How cool is that? Even my Colombian friends said that this is how they will have it in Bogota. I miss Melbourne. I have no idea why people say food in London is not good. I think you just have to avoid the touristy fish and chips, meat pies, and these kind of things. If you want to be safe, just go to ethnic restaurants because they're so good, regardless. So now one thing that I'm not really used to in London is the see it, say it, sorted. If you have been to London, you know what I'm talking about. It's this PSA in the tube or in the metro where I think it's from the British police trying to tell you if you see something suspicious, just see it, say it, sorted. It's in my brain now for ever. And another thing that I'm not very used to, and it's not very similar with Melbourne, is they always say you're right. To me in Australia, you're right means that's a mental health question. I'm sitting down and asking you, are you okay? Do you need help? Kind of situation. But to them, it's like, how's it going in Australia? You're alright, it's how's it going? And I don't know. I never know what to say to them. I just if I say yes, and if I don't, ask them, you're right, is it rude? But when I say you're right, I mean it. I want to sit down with you and ask if you're okay. Whereas for them, it's just a casual greeting and then they might not care about your answer. I think for the Brits, it's more casual. I don't expect you to answer this question truthfully. But what I do think is important is I think the Brits have many ways to mean what they ask. So if they really want to know how you're going, they would ask, how are you? Which is what you learn in A1 English. How are you? Not more complicated than that. To sum up, I really miss Australia, and it took me a trip to London to realize that I really miss Melbourne. I just miss the friendliness, the open-mindedness of people, how food tastes in Melbourne, how small talks are a thing in Melbourne. It's in the Australian culture. I just miss that. I'm going back to Melbourne soon, and you have no idea how much I miss Melbourne. I mean, it's just for a trip, but at the same time, I'm oh my god, I don't hate Germany. I think it's been so good in Berlin. I've experienced so many things that I would have never experienced in Melbourne, but it's just I am looking forward to this trip to Melbourne. I just want to eat all the good authentic food. Haha. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Ciao.